Okay. All right. Well, why don't we play some Ace Attorney then?
Yeah.
Are you ready, Renu?
don't we?
I don't know if you're ready.
I'm not ready. I feel like it'll be huge, you know.
Man, I don't know if I'm ready.
Texas can't have fiber, Renu. That means depending on other states. You right. You right.
Ah, I see. Yikes. Why can't Texas have fiber? Is it illegal?
Probably. I mean, considering they outlawed abortion, I think anything is possible.
Yikes. God, you're right. That's true. They're like, all right, you're gonna have DSL as God intended. God invented the modem. He did not want you to have this fiber shit.
Intended.
It's true. Texas wants to be a sovereign nation, but in like the worst way possible. They want to be a sovereign nation from like the 1800s. They're like, I remember the days when we first got integrated into America, and definitely not stolen from Mexico. Remember the Alamo, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. February 10th, 9:39 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 1.
Good morning. Oh, are you by yourself?
Are you gonna voice Phoenix?
Do you want me to voice Phoenix? I think we're back to Prosecutor Godot.
God dang it. Never mind.
Yeah, you're right. I should have voiced Phoenix for the last bit.
Morning, Pearls.
Mr. Nick, please tell me what's going to happen to Mystic Maya.
She's probably on trial for murder yet again.
Yet again.
I think 3 makes it a hat trick.
We don't know yet. The investigation is still going on, so I wasn't allowed into the inner temple.
Oh, I see. So is Sister Iris still trying to remove those trick locks in the training hall?
No, she's the defendant in this case, so she can't be at the inner temple. She's required to be here in court.
1 second. Alright, very sorry about that. We had to track down Philip.
Philip!
He was hiding under a bed.
Oh.
He's been handling the move pretty well, but we're just, obviously, because we're moving in with, people who don't live with cats normally, we have to, we have to renegotiate what it's like to exist. Okay.
Then how come she's not here in the defendant's lobby?
I have to admit, it's kind of strange.
If you're looking for Iris, she's in the prosecutor's lobby.
Oh! Excuse me? Oh! Edgeworth? What's Iris doing over there? She's going over today's testimony with the prosecutor as we speak. Today's testimony? You heard me. Iris is going to be testifying as a witness for the prosecution.
Ooh.
This woman's... Wait, what? They gonna betray Maya! The prosecutor is squeezing her for a confession. Or so I heard. Franziska von Karma, what are you up to? I know what you're thinking, but Franziska isn't going to be the prosecutor today.
Ooh.
What? Then who is? Who else would it be but Godot? Godot. Franziska is engaged in some important work at the Sacred Cavern. Queen! She won't get it out.
The sacred cavern? You don't mean that she's...
Exactly. She has been out there all night trying to remove those trick locks. I love her.
Oh my god.
Godot had some nerve trying to talk smack at her, and she's out there trying. With the head nun's assistance, naturally. Yeah, you know she is, Mads.
Yeah.
We estimate that the last of the locks should be taken care of in about 3 hours. It's impressive they can hold out for 3 hours against her whipping.
They're sturdy locks.
I hope everything continues to go smoothly, and we receive some good news soon. Yeah, thanks, Edgeworth. Prosecutor Godot intends to nail this case shut today. Be prepared to fight like there's no tomorrow. You don't have to tell me that. Touché. I can already see it in your eyes. You're not the same fever-ridden, frantic maniac you were yesterday. It's strange. On the way here, I decided that today would be the end of all of this. Almost immediately after I made that decision, I felt myself getting stronger.
1 hour for locks, 2 hours for burgers for Maya. Yeah, that's true. I need some burgers. Heli dropped in immediately.
Interesting. Maybe you've passed your cold onto someone else. Literally. And with that, I leave the rest in your capable hands, partner.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what it's all about!
I see rainbows coming off of that partner.
Partner, but in an incredibly gay way.
Thanks. I still don't have answers for most of the riddles plaguing this case. There's circumstances around the murder of Miss Elise Dunim. No, I mean Miss Misty Faye. The impossible flight Larry claims to have seen. Yes, Mads.
Partner.
And what that woman is really after. I will solve them all and bring this whole tragedy to an end.
February 10th, 10 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 7. Hey, wait, that's not Francisco Von Karma. Hey, wait, that's not the same judge.
Court is now in session for the trial of Iris of Hazakura Temple. Your Honor? What do you...
This isn't the right judge.
Who, me? Well, my Ototo came to visit me in my chambers earlier this morning.
Yeah, apparently they're related canonically, so I don't know why one is Canadian and one isn't.
They were separated as children.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, he developed a scorching fever and fainted.
Oh my god, he went in there to die.
That's crazy. Therefore, I'll be standing in for him.
I mean, it wouldn't be a final case without old Udgy here.
I see, Your Honor. So they're brothers. That explains a lot.
No, it doesn't. That actually raises more questions.
You're right. My poor brother. He looked a bit pale, not to mention sad that he couldn't be here.
Maybe
No,
they're not
actual
actual
brothers
like
are
Freemasons. Oh my god, that would be something. Welcome to the Brotherhood of Judges. It is impossible to predict what the future has in store for any of us. This is precisely why people feel the need to judge the past. and we of the court have been charged with the solemn duty of passing such judgment.
Well said, Mr. Godot. I understood exactly what you said, at least up until the end anyway. Now then, Mr. Godot, please proceed with your opening statement.
Humans are fragile, fickle beings. Our hearts change with the shifting of the tides. There is only one thing that remains a constant in this crazy world. The bitter darkness that lies at the bottom of this mug.
So then you mean, forget it. What do you mean?
During yesterday's trial, the accused refused to admit her role in the crime. But today, she has had a change of heart. Sister Iris of Hazakura Temple has a confession to make.
Confession? The defendant? Iris. Why didn't she discuss this with me first? Very well. This court will now hear the defendant's confession.
Upon meeting a beautiful lady, always ask for her name and profession. That's one of my rules.
My name is Iris. I'm but a simple nun undergoing training at Hazakura Temple.
Witness, is there something that you want to confess to?
Yes, but first, I want to apologize to Mr. Wright. I can't continue lying to everyone anymore.
It's all right. What is it?
Mr. Wright, I have to admit that I did play a part in this terrible incident.
Are you actually confessing? Are you saying that you were the one who murdered Miss Elise Dunim?
No, I'm not, Your Honor. But I dealt with the cover-up after the murder took place. After her spirit left, I took the lifeless shell of Mystic Elise and carried it to the Hazakura Temple courtyard where I desecrated it.
What?
What the fuck, man?
Oh, that's cold. Order in the court. Order. Witness, are you saying you were an accomplice to the murder?
Yes, that's correct.
What?
Yo, she just confessed to being an accomplice.
Woman, 3 minutes in court and I'm already covered in a cold sweat.
Ha! Everyone on the planet is an accomplice to something. It just happens to be that in this case, it's to murder. Isn't that right, Mr. Trite?
That Godot. So this is the confession they were conferring about. It pains me to say this, but it looks like Iris's testimony was all a lie.
Iris' testimony crumpled
Alright.
up and shoved into a pocket. I guess I don't need this anymore. Now then, little lady, if you don't mind, I've got a question for you. Whose crime were you trying to cover up by your actions?
Iris was covering for someone? I'm definitely up the creek without a paddle. Or a life jacket.
I've been at Hazakura Temple ever since I was a little girl. Hazakura Temple is run by one of the branch families of the Kurain tradition. One of our missions is to protect the main family.
I'm sorry, but main family?
Yes, and that's why I would dirty myself if need be to protect her. The daughter of the master of the Kurain channeling technique. Mystic Maya Fey.
Oh shit!
Huh? So y'all ain't sacrificing Maya, y'all trying to protect her?
Wake up and smell the coffee, Trite.
She's naming Maya?
Oh shit, is that Maya Fey girl again? Back at the murder business?
Back at the murder business. Order! Order in the court! So not only did you witness the murder, you know the name of the murderer.
I'm terribly sorry, but it's true.
I saw her commit
So
the
you're
crime.
protecting her by trying to pin her for the murder?
Ooh, pizza order has been placed. Nice.
Ooh.
I saw her commit the crime with my very own eyes.
Oh, Iris!
And then I cleaned up the area to try to protect her.
That's ridiculous! Maya could never do such a... The defense will refrain from commenting until the appropriate time. Now, witness, let's hear your testimony. What exactly happened on the night of the crime?
Yes, Your Honor.
I thought I was prepared for the unexpected, but I never imagined the case would wind up going in this direction. Maya back at it again.
Bump, bump. Back to her murdering ways. I went to the inner temple that night and I saw it all happen in the garden. I saw Mystic Elise strike Mystic Maya with her staff. While Mystic Maya was still stumbling, Mystic Elise moved in to deliver a fatal strike. Mystic Maya tried desperately to defend herself and stole the weapon. It was only in self-defense. You can't blame her for it. That's not what the law says.
No. So it was in self-defense?
Yes, Mystic Elise was the one who attacked first. That's why I tried my best to protect Mystic Maya. You moved the victim's body to the temple so that Maya wouldn't be suspected. Isn't that right? Not bad. You've got the instincts of a true criminal.
Something's not quite right. I'm sure it was established yesterday that Iris never went to the inner temple that night. And that the person who did go was that woman.
It was Morgan channeling her psychic energy from jail.
Iris even admitted it. Now then, Mr. Wright, please proceed with your cross-examination. Sister Iris, your testimony has changed quite a bit since yesterday. You stated yesterday that, on the night of the murder, you didn't go to the inner temple.
Did she now? Too bad for you. What she said yesterday doesn't mean much today. By the way, where were you when she claimed that she didn't go?
It was in the inner temple's training hall.
A private conversation between the two of you does not constitute testimony. That would be properly described as hearsay.
What do you have to say, witness?
I just couldn't tell him the truth at that time. Mystic Maya, she's your girlfriend, isn't she? I don't know about that
Not
one.
quite. We already have a partner.
Yes, it's true. I didn't want to be the one to break it to you that I saw her commit murder.
There. We all understand how difficult this is for you.
Listen, Iris has lived in a temple all her life.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know.
Now then, let's continue with the testimony. What did you witness in the temple garden?
Well, Your Honor.
You're saying that the victim attacked Maya, I mean Miss Faye?
Yes, it was a truly frightening scene. Mystic Maya was struck hard on the head and she looked like she was going to collapse.
What were you doing at the time? Why didn't you stop them from fighting?
I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Wright. I was frightened. I couldn't move. I couldn't even speak. I was in such shock.
That's perfectly understandable, my dear. This doesn't sound right. I don't believe this testimony for a minute. What happened after that?
While Mystic Maya was still stumbling, Mystic Elise moved in to deliver a fatal strike. Mystic Maya tried desperately to defend herself and stole that— oh, wait, no, this one. is struck mystically.
She moved in to deliver a fatal strike?
Yes, I'm sure of it. She threw down her staff and reached into her robe for a weapon.
Wait a minute. What was this weapon?
It was some kind of dagger.
A dagger, huh? And Elise Dunim tried to stab her with this weapon? To kill Miss Faye?
Yes, exactly. You look like I did after I mistakenly took a swig of Worcestershire sauce.
You did what?
How?
Yeah, how? It's not like they come in coffee mugs.
Do you have a problem with the testimony we're hearing from your client, lawyer boy? Oh my god.
Do you have a problem with Iris's testimony?
Well, there is one thing.
Your Honor, I have a small problem with the witness's testimony. You do? But this witness is your own client. You know, she's confessing without her
yeah.
knowing. Yes, well, nevertheless.
That's fine. Witness, let's add your last statement to the testimony. Yes, sir.
Hey, just a moment. It's my job to say that.
Listen, Gramps, I won't say it again. Final judgment will be rendered by me.
You can't talk to him like that.
He's just an old man. Okay, now, let's continue. She threw her staff away and pulled a dagger from inside her robe. I mean... Okay, well, we discovered that this is a sword cane.
Sister Iris. There's something strange about your version of events.
Huh?
Miss Dunim throwing her staff away makes no sense at all to me.
But all you can do with the staff is hit someone.
Naturally, you wouldn't know this, Sister Iris, but... the victim's staff had a special feature about it. As you can see, it's a sword. If Elise Dunim really had wanted to kill Maya Fey, she wouldn't have needed to use a separate dagger. Not when she already had a beautiful blade in her hands already.
Whoa, what the hell? That's metal?
That's a staff sword. Well, Sister Iris, what do you have to say?
That was an impressive bit of investigating, Trite. I never would have thought there was a sword hidden in that staff. But even so, how should I put this? A long sword is unwieldy, and thus quite ineffective in close quarters combat. Maybe that's why she chose a dagger over her blade. I mean, if you were trying to kill someone, you wouldn't need to be that close to somebody.
Well...
Anyway, the type of weapon she chose to use isn't what's important. The important thing is that she tried to kill Maya Fey. As long as there's nothing strange about that, there's no problem with her testimony.
But there is something strange about this whole testimony. Well, Mr. Wright, the prosecution has a point. Very well, Your Honor. The defense will now present evidence to back its argument.
Mr. Wright.
I have here another piece of evidence that shows that this testimony can't be trusted. Because Miss Elise Dunim would never attempt to take the life of Maya Fey.
Probably this. Unless we have... I guess we could. Oh my god, we're still missing HP. Oh, we really ate it last night. Or last time. Probably this.
It has to be something that's like, hey, it's mom.
I think. Well, it literally says mom.
Yeah. Elise Dunim would never have attacked Maya Fey.
How can you be so sure?
Because the victim's real name was not Elise Dunim. Her real name was Misty Fey.
Fey?
No, not Mystic Misty Fey.
Who is this Misty Fey? Is she related to
Misty Fey is the master of the crying channeling technique. She is also the mother of Maya Fey.
Are you serious?
No. Is it really true, Mr. Wright? Was Elise Dunim actually the great Mystic Misty?
There's no doubt about it. It looks like Iris had no idea.
I can hardly believe it.
The idea that she would try to kill her only daughter, one she hadn't seen in 17 years. Perhaps the prosecution can offer some explanation for why she would do such a thing.
Oh, that's true. That'd be weird.
Order! Order in the court. Upon hearing the witness's testimony, it seemed natural enough. However, in light of some facts that have just been presented, one, that the victim supposedly threw away a sword during a fight, and two, that the two people battling to the death were mother and daughter. Despite the facts being believable when taken on their own. When taken together, the entire story seems difficult to believe.
Listen, there's nothing in this world that is impossible. Except for one little thing.
Yes, what is this one little impossible thing?
You still don't get it. You think maybe my beans are under-roasted, but you have no idea, Gramps.
What? Could you get to your point?
What the fuck does that mean?
I heard this witness's confession this morning, just as I had taken the first sip of my 8th cup of morning coffee. Jesus fucking Christ.
Okay.
How much coffee can a human being reasonably drink without dying?
You're going to ruin your health, my friend.
Anyway, after hearing this woman's confession, I had a detective who loves to investigate sent to the scene of the crime.
You know, it's not even that like it's like too much coffee necessarily. It's just like how much liquid does your body process?
Yeah, that's true.
And he discovered this little beauty.
Is that the dagger the witness testified to seeing?
Obviously, Your Honor. But do you not notice something else?
Now that you mention it, if you look closely, there appears to be blood on it.
Closely, he says. It's literally right there.
Where did you find that? I didn't see that when I investigated the crime scene.
Did you investigate the pine tree at the crime scene?
Huh? The pine tree?
This dagger was stuck in the backside of the pine tree.
What?
What do you what? But it's all the way back there.
It's like right here. What? There's no way we wouldn't have seen that.
When the last blow was struck, ending the violent battle between the two women, this little baby was thrown in the direction of the back of the pine tree.
Which means the blood on this dagger belongs to the victim, correct?
Are we hydrating?
Oh, hydrating. Thanks. I can hear them yelling hydrate from the other room.
That's cute.
Ha! Were you even listening, old man? I first heard this confession this morning, just as I had taken the first sip of my 13th cup of morning coffee.
Wait.
Oh, God. The chug approach. The chugs approach. Well, yeah, let me know you need water refill. Thank you, busing service.
Didn't you just say it was your 8th just a few minutes ago?
I didn't have enough time to get the blood analyzed on such short notice.
In any case, the court will accept the dagger as evidence. Furthermore, I order that a blood test be performed on it immediately.
This is my sweetheart. Make sure you treat her right.
Bailiff, get this piece of evidence to the crime lab for testing immediately. Now then. The testimony we've just heard had numerous unbelievable aspects to it. However, after having found the very dagger the witness spoke of, I believe we can consider her testimony to be credible.
Cute girls never lie, ever.
What? In any case, witness, if you could please testify again to the court.
About what, Your Honor?
About the incident you saw, the battle between the two women.
Yes, Your Honor. Bum bum. Mystic Maya stumbled briefly after being hit over the head with the staff, but then she dodged Mystic Elise's next attack and stole her weapon. Suddenly, Mystic Elise was the one on the defensive, with her back to the stone lantern. That's when Mystic Maya stabbed Mystic Elise. Mystic Elise managed to fling the knife away, but then she collapsed.
That was a very heartbreaking story.
I don't know if there were any bad feelings between them, but it had been 17 years since Mystic Misty's disappearance. Perhaps they simply didn't recognize each other anymore.
That seems reasonable.
I don't know. I feel like you would recognize the robes of your channeling school.
Now then, Mr. Wright, proceed with your cross-examination. Iris, where were you standing when you witnessed all this?
What do you mean?
Well, if either of them had noticed you, they might not have continued their battle.
I wonder if that's true. The two of them, they were standing near the garden's stone lantern. I was watching the whole thing from behind. It was dark where the two of them were, so I think that's why they didn't see me.
So it was dark in the garden when the murder took place. Tell me, what did Miss Maya Fey do after she was struck? What happened to the victim's staff then?
I'm not sure. The area was very dark, so I really couldn't see. I think it got knocked away somewhere as the fight escalated.
That makes sense. That would explain the need for the dagger.
Mystic Elise raised the dagger to strike, but Mystic Maya dodged it at the last second. The dagger struck the lantern and fell to the ground. And then at some point, Mystic Maya picked it up.
Nothing sounds especially strange yet. What did the victim do when the weapon was stolen from her? You're saying that Maya Fey turned the tables on the victim?
Yes. But Mystic Maya wasn't herself at the time. After all, her life was in danger.
I still can't believe it. The idea of Maya cornering someone at knife point, it's just silly.
I dare you! I would kill in cold blood! Acha! I've watched so many kung fu movies. Hwata! As they say, a cornered fox is no more As they say, a cornered fox is more dangerous than a jackal. I feel like both of those are pretty dangerous. Equally dangerous.
I believe the correct description of a cornered fox is scared and petrified.
What do you know about animals? Your animal analogies have grown tiresome.
What? You were the one who started it.
Why would Phoenix Wright do this?
Anyway. So after Maya Fey backed the victim into the stone lantern, what happened next? Are you absolutely certain that's what you saw?
Yes, I'm almost certain.
Almost?
The garden was dark. I couldn't really tell who was who.
What did she just say? So in other words, it could have been someone else entirely.
Objection!
We know that Maya Fey was at the inner temple that night. And that the woman who was that was killed was at least Dunim. Isn't it fairly obvious who attacked who?
I don't have anything to counter that yet.
Yet.
Well then, witness, please continue with your testimony.
Yes, Your Honor. The two of them faced each other for more. I thought we were back at the testimony for some reason.
Yeah.
Or the main link.
Yeah.
Then Mystic Maya rushed straight into Mystic Elise. Then Mystic Elise doubled over and fell to the ground.
So she was stabbed in the stomach, huh?
Yes.
Where did that dagger go?
I have no idea. It was dark and I couldn't see. According to the detective who found the dagger, it was stuck onto the pine tree in the ground. Most likely it was flung towards the tree after the struggle.
That is the most likely explanation, yes. After being stabbed in the stomach, did the victim collapse right away?
Now that I think of it, she seemed to stare at Mystic Maya for a while. And Mystic Maya stood there, not moving an inch. It felt for a moment like time had just stopped. But then, suddenly, as if the spell had worn off, Mystic Elise fell over.
It seems like a reasonable story at first. But there's one thing that is completely impossible. The very idea of Maya stabbing someone.
I can tell you're thinking about me.
That alone is impossible. Which means... this faulty testimony must contain another contradiction in it somewhere. Wait. Huh. If her back was to the stone lantern, then how was she stabbed in the back?
Oh, that's true. Oh! Yeah. Oh, big brain, Renu. Wait, what?
Wait, why?
Why?
Wait,
Oh, my health points.
Whatever.
Maybe it's this one. I bet it's this one.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Just one
Like,
statement
what?
off.
Something about you just isn't right today, Iris.
Huh?
Until now, I didn't think you were the type to make such a careless mistake. However, the testimony you just gave contains quite a few contradictions.
What do you mean? What's so wrong about my testimony?
According to you, Maya Fey stabbed the victim while she had her back to the stone lantern, correct?
Yes, that's right.
But in that case, the victim would have been stabbed in the stomach, right? Yes, I think so. But, according to the autopsy report, the cause of death was due to blood loss from a stab wound in her back.
Ah.
This proves that the victim was stabbed from behind, not from the front. Sister Iris. It appears another seed of doubt has sprouted from your testimony.
Where did that wind come from?
What? What is the meaning of this, Mr. Wright?
Huh. It's simple. People are like books. We've all got a front and a back. You get my drift?
Oh, is that all you have to say?
People are like books. They often have spines.
Wait, I still don't understand.
I can also say that darkness loves to play with the human mind.
Could you please knock it off with cheesy proverbs and illogical metaphors already? The point is, too much of this testimony just doesn't make sense. Throwing away useful staff, the people fighting being mother and daughter. And now she falsely claims the victim was stabbed in the stomach. There certainly are some inconsistencies. Well, Iris, how about it?
Well, it's just... If you ask me, you're just being too naive about the whole thing.
What do you mean?
There are 253 distinct types of bitterness in coffee. But to pick out each one requires total concentration and the use of all the senses. Were you really concentrating on what this witness actually said?
Prosecutor Godot, explain yourself.
Prosecutor Godot, what the fuck does that mean? The witness was quite unambiguous about her own ambiguities, what she said. That the garden was dark and she couldn't see clearly. A human needs one thing to see clearly, and that is light.
Light.
By the way, did you know? Azakura has a rule that on nights when an acolyte is at the inner temple training, the stone lantern in the garden must be kept lit.
I did wonder what that stone lantern was there for. Well, if that's true, shouldn't the witness have been able to see the crime more clearly?
Normally, yes, Your Honor, but according to the head nun, Sister Bikini, on the night of the crime, it was impossible to light that stone lantern.
Impossible?
It hadn't been used in a long time and the wick was no good. In other words, it had to have been nearly pitch black in the garden that night. There could have been a faint light coming from the training hall, but that's it.
Most enlightening.
Yes, that illuminating fact has chased all the contradictions away. If the staff was dropped, it would be difficult to see. It also explains why they didn't recognize each other. We can't see the demons that lurk in the night. That's why humans are weak. Isn't that right, Trite?
But then her whole testimony is garbage.
Wait,
If
then
you
the
could
whole
barely
case
see.
don't make any sense.
Yeah. Order, order, order.
Here, Your Honor. Let me present the stone lantern into evidence. Maybe it will rekindle the flame of truth in your mind.
Alright. Why is the judge just sitting there with that look on his face?
That's what he always looks like, Phoenix.
Yeah. It's his
What's
resting
wrong?
face.
What's wrong, Your Honor? Was that flame too hot?
This lantern. There's something written on it.
Hmm?
Why? It's written in blood. Oh boy. So the judge didn't know about that yet.
Written in blood?
It says Maya upside down.
What the?
Oh, yes, that's right. After being cornered and then stabbed by Mystic Maya, Mystic Elise didn't fall down right away. She must have been writing that on the stone lantern behind her, with the blood that was draining out of her body.
Hey, did anybody else see Godot surprised about that too?
It certainly looks that way.
Hang on just a minute. What are you all talking about?
What do you mean, what are we all talking about? We're talking about the message written in blood.
Huh, nonsense. This lantern, it's as clean as a whistle.
Could it be? He can't see the bloody writing at all? Now that I think of it, he did say something to me yesterday.
My eyesight is pretty messed up. Even with these huge goggles on my head, I still can't see everything.
So that's what he meant by that. In any case, this is obviously an important clue. We now know that the crime scene was dark, and that the victim scrawled this message on the stone lantern. Well, Mr. Godot, anything further? Mr. Godot?
Okay then, let's move on.
Godot is literally shaking, and somehow, I don't think it's from caffeine overdose. Also a likely explanation. I believe it has now been established that Miss Dunim was killed by Maya Fey.
Oh no, I don't think you've established that at all. Put that away.
A murder 3 times in a row!
I should have known. That hooligan, she just gives me the big murder energy.
That's just wrong!
Now it's time to turn our attention to you.
Yes, sir.
After the victim died, you did something, didn't you? Let's hear it. We're all ears.
After Mystic Elise died, I called out to Mystic Maya. I thought it was my duty to protect the future master of the Kurang tradition. So I removed the body from the inner temple by myself. I dragged it behind me all the way across Dusky Bridge. Then I used the snowmobile to carry it back to Hazakura Temple and... I used the Shichishito to alter the way the wound looked.
So you moved the body.
Yes, I was raised at Hazakura Temple. I owe a great deal of thanks to the Fei clan. But even so, I never imagined that Elise Dunim was actually Misty Fei. I've committed a terrible sin.
A terrible trick of fate. I believe you're looking for a twist of fate, Your Honor.
I mean, it's a pretty terrible trick too. Like a trick played by God. I intended to return to the inner temple after taking care of the body, but... You were spotted by the head nun, correct? Yes, and that's why I couldn't go back. This is so funny. Literally, it's like playing a character that is the lowest my voice will go, and then playing a character that is like the highest my voice will go. Just oscillating wildly. Yes, and that's why I couldn't go back.
Your story makes sense, I suppose. Mr. Wright, go ahead with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. So you waited until everything was over before making a move?
No, it's not like that.
Objection!
She saw someone murdered right in front of her eyes. It's not surprising that she was a little timid.
Yes, I suppose that's true. Sometimes when I'm watching lawyers argue back and forth with each other, I feel so helpless that I just sit quietly and wait for them to reach a conclusion.
I mean, that's kind of your job.
Yeah. Isn't it your job as the judge to mediate the argument?
Maybe. It wasn't until Mystic Maya saw me. Ah!
Ah.
Pizza here.
Bisa.
1 sec.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
I mean, I'm gonna eat a little pizza before we start.
Pizza.
Are we gonna have a different snack before we started? But then we'll talk about food, so. I recommend. Nice. Man, what's hotter? What's like nicer than a hot pizza? This is great. It's like actually hot too. It's nice. I feel like the last couple times I had pizza, it's just like cold. Or just like warm.
Warm, fresh pizza.
How's your day been?
A lot of managing Miss Clover. She went to the park and she had some unfortunate like guarding situations where she kept guarding toys that didn't belong to her.
Oh, Clover.
She would like take them from other dogs and she would guard against. I know, it was terrible. So we're thinking about like trying to get her some like private puppy lessons or something to like get her out of that behavior, because the group puppy classes that we took her to didn't really cover that kind of stuff, you know, because it's not really an issue that all puppies face, so it's not really a principal thing that they teach or whatever. So yeah, I have to get her some extra classes to hopefully deal with that. Other than that, let's see. Just now I saw on Instagram one of my followers messaged me being like, I saw like your artwork floating around on this person's post, but they didn't credit you, and I don't think you probably gave them permission to repost it, right? And I was like, no. So I have to go and message that person about, I guess, common artist etiquette.
Which one was it? Which piece?
On my Ava piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense that it'd be like a fan art.
Yeah. What's my birthday? Ate a lot of watermelon. I still have watermelon next to me too. Got a nice watermelon for $5 or less than $5.
Yeah, watermelon season. Watermelon's real cheap.
Yeah. Yummy. Still sleeping night.
That's nice. I've just been moving all day.
I'm sure you have.
Yep, we're gonna like do this, and then after stream, I'm gonna unpack some stuff, and it's gonna be Gucci. Tonight, I'm gonna sleep so well.
Well, I'm sure you will. After unloading everything and moving everything. Man, it's so exhausting moving.
Yeah. I've gotten pretty good at like setting up the computer though.
Oh yeah?
Like everything I need is just set up already. It took me like maybe 20 minutes after the desk was put together. Because I have all the practice from like moving around for school. And then also moving in my parents' house, and then moving out of that room into the shed. Like I've moved the computer setup quite a couple times.
Efficiency. And now you have proper internet. Blazing.
Blazing. Next week's stream is gonna be so crispy. Can I do anything next week? I don't think so. Are you doing anything next week? You're available for next week's stream, right?
Next week? Do what?
For stream?
Yeah.
Okay.
god, I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes.
Oh no.
Horrible. I've gotten, like, stung, like, at least 6 or 7 times since I've been sitting here.
Oh no.
I like to imagine that everyone in the courtroom just paused for a pizza break.
Mm-hmm. It's like, this is great. Where do we get this? I haven't had food in 2 years.
This is the only time Phoenix gets to eat a proper meal.
It's like I've been subsisting off of like protein powder. Like those free peanuts you get at ball games or whatever. You know when you order pizza and you get the little like little pepper packets.
Oh my god! My man lives off of the leftover takeout packets.
Exactly, just like, okay, today's meal is soy sauce.
Pizza was so deliciously greasy.
It is exactly what your body needs after moving all day. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna go put this bowl away.
Okay.
Oh, that pizza was so good. Alright, let's get back to it. I don't remember if I read this, so I'm just gonna read it again. That it finally dawned on her what she had done.
So then, you knew? You knew the significance of the name Maya Fey?
Yes, of course I did.
That's odd. I mean, Sister Bikini didn't recognize Maya's name, let alone her position. That's true.
That's true. Anyway, she was a very special person indeed.
Why did you do that?
Because I didn't want Mystic Maya to be suspected in any way. So much for that. I thought the best thing would be to remove the body from the crime scene.
You moved her body all by yourself?
Yes, I did. It would have been impossible if it wasn't for the snow.
The snow, huh? It's pretty amazing you could make it all the way across. That's a rickety old bridge.
It looks worse than it is. It's surprisingly sturdy despite its age. It's like they say, idiots are too stupid to catch even a simple cold.
But there's one other thing that bothers me. Why not just throw the body into the Eel River? It would have been much easier than dragging it all the way to Hazakura Temple.
I thought that it would still cast too much suspicion on Mystic Maya. That's why I tried to take the body as far away as possible. Makes perfect sense to me. For the time being. Anyway, what did you do after you crossed the bridge?
The snowmobile? I knew that would show up sooner or later.
Yes, I had the key. I used the snowmobile to travel from Hazakura Temple to Dusky Bridge.
This is the part that was in question the other day. Should I ask for more details? If you really did move her body by snowmobile, then there should be tracks left in the snow, right? Well, yes, naturally, you would expect tracks. This picture was presented at yesterday's trial. Are these the tracks from that ride?
Yes, I think they are.
But I can only see one set of tracks here.
I don't see what's so strange about that. Snow was still falling when I left Hazakura Temple.
I see. Snow was still falling, huh?
And then when the murder took place, it had already stopped. That's why there are such fresh-looking tracks.
How about it, Mr. Wright? What do you think about this testimony? When the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. That doesn't make sense if you stack it up against the other evidence. Your Honor, I'd like the statement Iris just made added to the testimony. But does it have something to do with the case? All will be made clear if you allow her statement to be added to the record.
Huh. This should be fun. Let's get this snow business cleared up, shall we? Yes, sir. By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. I'm sure we have some kind of evidence.
Excuse me, we spent a long time talking about when and when not when it didn't snow.
Yeah, right. Snow 7 to approximately 10:50. 10 to 11. Lightning struck at 10:45. Okay, so it was definitely still snowing. I hope this is correct. No! We're gonna die!
Yeah, can you look at the crime photos? Yeah.
Well, she said the snow had stopped by the time she did this.
Uh-huh.
Which makes sense.
What about the orb? Yeah.
Hmm?
Wasn't there something about the orb being like covered in snow or something, or like it
yeah,
wasn't
it was
covered
like
in
found
snow?
half covered in snow.
Yeah.
Okay, it might be the orb then. You're right.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
You should save.
We're definitely gonna have to save here. Oh boy. It might honestly just be the autopsy report.
You think so?
I don't think so. Let's try that one again. Rewind. Just press it. Let's see if we can get some more details out of this.
There have been a lot of contradictions in your testimony so far. This time, are you sure it's all true?
Yes, I am.
When the murder happened, the snow had already stopped. According to you, that's why the snowmobile tracks were so clear.
That's right. I'm certain of it.
I think I've trapped her this time.
I see how you think. Snow, huh?
What is going on here? If the snow really had stopped by the time of the murder, it'd mean there's a bigger hole in her story than that movie, The Grid Revelations.
What is this reference?
What is this?
What is the grid? What? The grid equals the Matrix. Revelations equals revolutions.
I like that the first result is someone want to explain this joke to me, case 3-5, right, thinking to himself about Iris's testimony.
Oh. Well. Yeah, I wonder what that translation was. I know that the pop culture references are more of a Western thing than they are the original Japanese, but interesting. Okay.
Huh, yeah, I guess it was the take on the Matrix.
Well then, Mr. Trite, perhaps you'd like to share your theory with us. Let's see what's up your sleeve, or rather, at the end of your index finger.
Huh? I don't want to believe it, but I don't think my logic is failing me. Iris is trying to pin the murder on Maya. Clearly.
Yeah.
But why would she want to do that? There's only one reason I can think of.
God, what do we do though?
I mean, it has to... It's unfortunate that it's been a week since we did the last part. We don't remember... I mean, at least I think it's been 2 weeks actually since we did the trial about the snow. But we very carefully established when and when it did not snow.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah, I
maybe
think-
we just present the weather data again. No?
No. I'm trying to remember... It should have been snowing, I guess, by the time the murder took place. By the time the murder took place, the snow had already stopped. Did we press everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Did the orb establish that it was or was not snowing?
That it was snowing. Wait.
Maybe we're just presented again after having that moment. I don't know. Hello, Zoraxis. Zorixis. Sorry, I butchered your name.
All the way across Dusky Bridge. Oh, wait, hang on. Maybe it's...
Oh, was it that?
Maybe it's this. Okay, that... Yeah.
I got it? Okay, cool. I got your name. You claim that the snow had already stopped when the murder occurred.
That's when the lightning started.
Mm-hmm. But I'm sorry, Iris. That just isn't possible.
What?
This is the weather data from the night of the murder. According to this, the snow didn't stop until 10:50 p.m. But you couldn't have crossed the Dusky Bridge in that time.
Why do you say that?
Because 5 minutes before the snow stopped, Dusky Bridge was struck by lightning and had caught on fire.
What did you say? The bridge was on fire?
You don't mean to say you didn't know about it? It was because of that lightning strike that the bridge burned down.
What? But it can't. It can't be.
It looks like you still haven't figured it out. No matter how hard you try to deceive or conceal the truth, you can't pull the wool over the eyes of a real defense attorney.
He says that, having been the most deceived character in this
I know.
entire series.
You are talking big
No.
right now, sir.
Sorry, did you just... What? I watched this man get deceived.
Over
Personally.
and over and over again. Order. The bridge was already on fire when the incident took place. That's right. The inner temple was already totally cut off from the outside world. There's no way you could have crossed the bridge, body or no body. Witness, even my patience has its limits. He's growing.
He's becoming
Is he?
strong.
Any further lying, and I will find you in contempt of court. Do you have anything to say for yourself?
Objection!
The only person here that is truly contemptible is you. Old man.
What? How dare you? I don't think you should be doing this to the judge. He's the judge.
Whether this witness lied or not doesn't mean squat right now.
Squat?
The important thing now is to find out the truth. Isn't that right?
Yes, of course, but...
Whether it was snowing or not snowing, or whether the bridge was burning or not, there are two facts that can't be disputed. First, the body of Elise Dunim was discovered in the Hazakura Temple courtyard. And second, the head nun, Sister Bikini, witnessed Iris desecrating Elise Dunim's body.
He makes a good point, on both accounts.
You got me there. That's right, I'm not lying.
What are you claiming this time?
I wasn't myself at all that night, so my memory is still somewhat hazy.
You stood at that witness stand and testified this entire time. Are you telling us now that your memory of that night is hazy?
It is only human to err.
Oh my god.
If you're so perfect trite, maybe you can explain this for the court.
What is it?
When the murder happened, the bridge had already burnt down. But somehow the body traveled across the bridge and was found in the temple courtyard. Perhaps you have some kind of perfect explanation for this little magic trick.
Larry! Well, not exactly, no. Now there must be some other way she got across that burnt-out bridge. But unless I can somehow demonstrate it, we'll never know the truth. It looks like the defense is not prepared to offer a suitable explanation.
You see what I mean? In other words, you're in no position to suggest that this lady's testimony isn't the truth.
Ah!
Got him good, Godot.
All right then. Witness, let's hear your testimony once more.
About what, Your Honor?
You've admitted that you moved the victim's body. Nevertheless, your prior testimony contained a rather large inconsistency. Please add an explanation for that to your testimony.
Yes, Your Honor.
Will this be her final testimony?
Grim. Other than walking over the bridge, there's no way to move that body. So I must have just gotten confused, I guess. Was the snow still falling, or had it stopped? Does it really matter that much? Or are you saying that there is a way to cross a burning bridge?
So it was just a misunderstanding, I see.
This is a photo of Dusky Bridge after it burned down from the lightning blast. It was taken on the morning after the incident.
It certainly was burned to a crisp, and one of the suspension wires even snapped. It's amazing the whole bridge didn't fall. Clearly, it would be impossible to carry a corpse across a bridge in this condition. Unless I do something to discredit this testimony, it's going to be deemed as the truth. And Maya will be accused of murder.
Trite. I'm only going to say that one more time. It is only human to err, and only humans can spot the errors of our ways.
The more sense he makes, the less sense he makes. All right, Mr. Wright. Please begin your final cross-examination.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna drop a save first.
I'm ready. I'm ready for this. A dead body flying over a burning bridge. I wouldn't exactly rule out the possibility. What?
Phoenix Wright, what the fuck are you talking about? Ha! So you're saying it's possible? Don't make me laugh. The only thing that's possible about your claim is that it's been pulled out of thin air.
I don't know about that. In any case, we have a witness who did see it happen.
Preposterous!
Oh no. Who is it? Who is this witness? Oh lord. I can't chicken out here. We gotta keep on the attack and go, go, go. You're making Laurice lead the charge. Miss Elise Dunim's brilliant and highly gifted apprentice, Laurice Dunim.
Oh boy.
Brilliant.
Highly gifted. Apprentice?
Remember what he said in his testimony. That night he was at the Mountain Shack, Heavenly Hall. And that's when he witnessed the event. I think you've all seen the sketch before. It's an exact drawing of what he witnessed that night. Are you serious? Today is not April Fool's Day, is it? Mr. Wright, are you seriously claiming that the victim flew through the air? And you're using this pathetic scribble to support your argument?
No, he's so mean.
Oh, the judge looks like he's about to blow a gasket.
Well, Trite, there's nowhere for you to hide now. Other than just looking like it was drawn by a 6-year-old, does this sketch prove anything?
Yes. I'm pretty sure it does, and I'm going to prove it.
Listen, I know your tricks. You're trying to turn this whole thing upside down. If you're so eager to turn this case upside down, why not start with this sketch?
Upside down? Why did Godot say that? Oh. Alright then. Alright then, let's hear the defense's test theory.
Wait a minute.
What exactly is this sketch trying to show? How are you trying to help us, dog? I don't think old Whisker Face is going to forgive any more mistakes. Larry just can't catch a break. He doesn't need one.
He doesn't need one, it's true.
Alright, Phoenix. Look carefully and think it over. This sketch drawn by Laurice Dunim is...
Exactly what happened.
It's exactly what happened. Of course, the victim was flying through the air. You can see it right there in the sketch. Whoosh!
Whoosh!
You know, you're starting to remind me of yesterday's witness. What? That was the last thing I wanted to hear. Do you have any evidence that the victim flew through the air?
Just so you know, we haven't discovered a giant human catapult at the inner temple yet.
I wish they had.
Even if you're a lousy lawyer, at least you're 1 cup's worth of entertainment. I think we should skip the penalty this time.
There must be some way. I just know it. There must be a way to use Larry's sketch to show what happened. All right, then. The witness will now return to her testimony.
Yes, Your Honor. Okay, we'll try that one again. We're just gonna go... A complete contradiction.
Something is obviously funny about this sketch. I'm no art critic, but even I can see that.
Who drew this piece of shit? Get this garbage out of my courtroom.
I don't know. That's not what I mean, Your Honor. Laurice Dunim stated it over and over. that this sketch was exactly as he saw it. However, if we're to believe his testimony, then the sketch contradicts reality as we know it.
Contradicts reality? I mean, yes.
Mhm.
Huh. This is getting interesting. Looks like you're back to that finger-pointing thing again. Okay, Trite. So what exactly contradicts reality as we know it? Right?
This flying figure, naturally. After all, people haven't learned to fly yet. Or did I miss something?
Mr. Wright, that answer just now, it was lethal. Okay, we'll try that one again. I think I understand. I think I know though. Actually, I think I get it.
Yeah.
Whoopsies. Whoopsies.
Dang it, Larry, we believed in you.
We believed in you too hard. I think I know what it is though, actually.
Mhm.
Yada da da dee, yada da da da, dee 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 dee. Do 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 do. Dee 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 do 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 do. Wow wow wow. Wow. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah.
Bam! It's this wire connected to the bridge. The wire?
Huh. Is that the thing that contradicts reality?
It is indeed.
Then show us the reality it supposedly conflicts with. Show us something that will point out how the sketch contradicts reality. It's this photo we just got, right?
Yeah. That's a photo of Dusky Bridge, correct? Yes. Now compare the sketch and the photo for a minute. In the sketch, the wires appear to be above the guard wires. But on the actual Dusky Bridge... Jumping Jehoshaphat! The wires are below the guard wires.
What?
Order! 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 This sketch is somewhat different than what's depicted in the photo. However, isn't it likely that the artist just saw it wrong?
Or perhaps he just drew it wrong. Either way, it sounds like you're just wrong.
With someone like Larice, I admit a mistake is a definite possibility. But then that begs the question. Why did he make a mistake? What was the reason?
Are you saying you know the answer to that?
Listen, think back, alright?
Larry Butt's just wrong. Correct tagline.
Remember what Larice was doing when he witnessed this event? He was at Heavenly Hall waiting for a lover that was never going to come.
Yeah, kick it in. Rub it in.
He waited and waited, and finally he lay down. But then, lightning shoots from the sky and sets the bridge aflame. Now ponder what sort of position Larice must have been in at that time. He was lying on his back, which is why he remembered the scene the way he did. He was lying on his back. I can't see how it relates. But it does, Your Honor. That is the reason why the wires in the sketch go up instead of down. Laurice Dunim witnessed the event while he was lying on his back, face up. In other words, the scene that he saw was actually upside down.
Yo, what the fuck?
So then, this sketch should actually... I think you finally get it, Your Honor. The correct way to view Laurice Dunim's sketch is like this. This is how it should actually look. The victim's body wasn't flying above the bridge. It was actually swinging below. That's right, just like a pendulum.
Ridiculous.
Order, oh, order.
Of all the things to say, a pendulum?
The bridge was burning to a crisp. There was no way to get across it. But if the body had been found at the inner temple, it would have caused problems. This is where the criminal decided to take a gamble. They used the burning bridge to get the body across to the other side. And a pendulum was the only way to get it done.
Let's think about this for a minute, shall we? Dusky Bridge is about 20 yards long, which means it's about that far from the inner temple to the opposite cliff.
Yes, that sounds right.
In order to cover that distance with a pendulum, you need a rope at least 10 yards long. To get a rope that long, you have to plan ahead.
The lightning strike that night can only have been an accident. So it doesn't make sense that the culprit would have prepared the rope beforehand. So then... they didn't have to get the rope ready. The rope was already right in front of them.
What?
I'm saying that it was just a matter of using what was already there. In that case, Mr. Wright, please give us an explanation to support your theory. What makes you think the criminal had the rope on hand to create a pendulum?
I mean...
And the meaning of this is? If you want to know where the rope came from, it's hanging right there in front of your glorious beard. Oh! This is one of the wires from the bridge. When the lightning struck the bridge and set it on fire, one of the suspension wires came loose from its anchor. The criminal didn't have any time to waste, so they tied the wire around Elise Dunim's body. Oh my god, dude.
Oh my god! Whoosh!
Whoosh.
Nice!